That'd be dangerous. Are you loading into the game?
Oh no, sorry, I didn't realize they had started yet. I was just thinking about the maps because it's interesting because we see ravines being picked by HighFlyer and there's a Mongols ban from Ola, which is kind of interesting. It looks really aimed at that map, in my opinion.
I would agree.
But I guess we first focus on this game one Arabia.
So
And I'm loading
Slavs
it now.
versus Berbers though. So
Very interesting.
OLADUSHEK's actually known for picking Berbers on Arabia. He kind of has a very similar strategy every single time that I've seen. In terms of counter picks though, is Slavs like a counter pick that I'm not aware of? Like I know they get really good helps and they have really good farms and whatnot, and cheap siege, but I'm not sure if they would be like my first go-to counter pick for Berbers.
Slavs is really good against Berbers because Berbers really struggles against Harp Siege late game, and Slavs is just one of these sips that has a pretty easy time getting on Harp Siege, and has really good cheap siege to go with it, so that's pretty nice. So I definitely think that this is pretty nice for HighFlyer here, but at the same time, I feel like there's a stage where Berbers can still be pretty scary, where you do not necessarily want to be on Pikemen already, and you kind of want to do something else as Slavs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was thinking as well, like even when you go to late game as well, like Berbers do get BBC at least. They do also get, I guess they do get full upgraded champions, but that's not really the call against Druzina Halbs. If you get to that point, Druzina is very expensive to get to though.
Yeah, it's hard to get to, but still overall, it's really hard to open up with something like Knights or Camo Archers and then transition into champions.
True.
And Slav Eco overall is just better than Berber Eco as well. Berbers have slightly faster working farms as well because of their walking speed, but Slav's farms are just beast compared to them.
Absolutely. In terms of like openings though, what would you kind of expect to see Slavs? So I'm thinking maybe like a men-at-arm and then skirm defense if he's expecting archers as a follow-up. It does depend on what OLADUSHEK does as well, of course.
So what I think here is as Slavs, you're kind of okay opening with scouts as well, because the farm bonus is relevant in feudal, and Berbers don't really have a relevant bonus in feudal age yet, since the cost of keys is only in castle age, right? So you can keep up and do fine with that. So I feel like either man at arms opening or just scouts opening can both do. So I would let that depend on the map really.
And in terms of maps, HighFlyer, I don't really love his map. Like once he walls it, I think it's a great map, but he's gonna have to either go for some greedy walls, especially kind of along the front here with the wood lines. They aren't like super far apart, but like getting to them, like he's gonna have to commit quite a significant amount of time to walling, in my opinion.
So this is one of these maps for HighFlyer where if I look at it, it's like eventually in Castle Age you're gonna have a nicely walled map, which is pretty cool to defend and whatnot. But like Feudal Age, you're not gonna be walled by the time your opponent hits Feudal.
Oh, HighFlyer!
Oh, can he save it?
He's not gonna save that one.
Oh,
and is he gonna re? He has. Remember, 4 minutes to re. I would re. It's a best of 5 though.
But they only get one re, right?
They only get re on re, but I would personally re after that just to make sure.
This is not how you want to start a best of 5 series.
Absolutely not.
Oh, but look what he's doing currently.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, I did unfortunately miss it. And he lost the aggro on the rhino at the same time.
Oh, this is a disaster start for HighFlyer, and the 4-minute mark has been passed, so the re unfortunately is no longer possible. But like losing the scout HP, losing a field, and overall just having a bit of a sloppy start here is not very promising. Although he does have the right matchup, this really opens up for Ola to have a stronger opening.
Now that you've kind of had a bit of a disaster start, what would you would you change your opening at any stage here? Would you prefer kind of men-at-arms or would you prefer scouts now for HighFlyer?
That is an interesting question. Oh, is he? Oh, he saved the other field. God bless.
That could have been double disaster.
Spear rush, but...
Spear rush.
So what I feel like, no matter what you do, you need to do some damage early Feudal Age. And I feel like Man-at-Arms and Scouts both are fine builds to do that. I think in HighFlyer's position, I would go for the Scout War here.
Okay.
I'm not sure how much info he has on the map of HighFly. Of Ola. He doesn't have insane amounts of info, so that's a bit of a shame.
And also, something a little bit awkward that we haven't talked about OLADUSHEK's map though. It's got this, it's not just a small hill, it's freaking Mount Everest in front of his two main golds. Oh, sorry, two secondary golds, I should say. So if HighFlyer can capitalize on that, he doesn't, I don't think he even needs a castle. It was like one siege workshop on the top of this hill. And OLADUSHEK can't really take these golds until he gets a castle or something there.
So this is one of these interesting maps at Ola. It's like his map is pretty wallable, right? I'd argue that this is a pretty good map. Could even consider something like a Thresh FC, which I wouldn't necessarily do as Burbers, especially seeing how open your opponent's map is. But it is one of these maps that once you hit Castle Age, you know you have to put on pressure and you can't just sit back and boom, because otherwise your opponent is going to grab that hill and yeah, that's going to be hard.
And it really is a disastrous hill. It's not like a... like, do elevation bonuses increase? I'm not actually sure about that.
No, it's just higher or not.
Okay.
By the way, Dave is pointing out that blue was equal in Vils, even though he lost one. But yeah, that's actually kind of interesting, given that Ola hasn't got Loom yet either. Well, now he has Loom. Sorry, my bad. It just came in.
Have you sped up the game? Just double checking.
No, I'm just... Yeah, well, I'm at live gameplay, but I didn't speed up.
No, I was just double checking if you were at live. But yeah, like, it's really... I think when OLADUSHEK was defending the lane, he must have had some TC idle time.
No. He has a death as well. He lost a Veil.
No!
Because his scout is still alive and he does have a death. So he did perhaps lose a Veil 2 bore as well. We must have missed it.
It must have missed that. So both, like, this is the upper bracket guys. These guys know how to play the game. They're both extremely good at the game in my opinion, from what we've seen. But sorry, dying a little bit.
Don't die on me, Shadow.
Both players losing a build to board.
Yeah, that is a rough start for both players. And it's the worst thing, like, you're in the start of a best of 5 series, and you're just kind of in the semifinals, and you're slightly anxious, I can imagine.
Oh,
and you lose a freaking ball to a Veil, something that probably happens like 1 every 20 games to you or something, if not less.
Oh, but at this level, you'd expect less, like 1 in maybe 50 or 100.
Yeah, maybe, but the thing is, like, you don't know that it happened to your opponents as well. And they're like, oh, I basically threw game 1 by doing this kind of stupid thing. But yeah, it's kind of silly.
Beating the chat. How much time you better beat whoever wins this? Oh my god.
Anyway, so both players are going with the scouts opening. We see some big boy walls coming out for HighFlyer, who's opting to wall the left side. Is going to add a spear there, which I really like. But it's a really optimistic wall, in my opinion.
I think he might be able to get up just because OLADUSHEK was up a little bit later, and I feel like this ball will just about go up. I feel like maybe HighFlyer should have started the Vils on opposite ends though.
I'm sure the wall will go up, especially if he keeps the spear around, but I just don't like how draining this is on the eco, because although he's floating boot now, I feel like he should have more farms right now.
He did push all of his Zebras though, to try to make up for the Vil difference there, or what the perceived Vil difference, I should say.
I still have to say, yeah, now the farms are going down, but he's floating quite a bit of wood for this kind of build, in my opinion.
And I like that he's kind of preemptively walled in his lumber camp here. We often see players forgetting to do that, mainly me.
We often see players, mainly me. Nice. Yeah, so overall the game seems to be pretty even here. Scout numbers are relatively even. Both players basically the same investment. I see 2 spears for Ola. I see... Is there only 1 spear out for HighFlyer, I believe?
HighFlyer did lose a spear in OLADUSHEK's woodline there, so that would explain...
Oh, yeah.
That. I feel like HighFlyer is going to get away with these walls just because OLADUSHEK hasn't really been proactive with these scouts.
Yeah, he has been fairly passive, and HighFlyer has not been making scouts the last couple of minutes. He did add another spear, so it looks like he wants to go for a low number of scout play and just focus on getting up to Castle Age instead.
And we do see the two on gold at the moment, so definitely HighFlyer wanting to get up really soon. OLAD...
It's getting wheelbarrow already as well.
OLAD's still adding scouts though, and this could be really interesting if he does go for like bloodline scouts here. If he can if he can keep HighFlyer open. But I don't think he's gonna be able to keep him open just because he wasn't active with the scouts earlier.
Yeah, he has been playing pretty passive here, even though he's been producing more scouts. But like HighFlyer has some big boys walls in my opinion, so it might still be quite possible to get in with the scouts here and get some good value. But at the same time, it's so easy to rewall behind this as well.
So just a little bit of a discussion here that wheelbarrow was pretty early for HighFlyer. PT saying that slabs need wheelbarrow a little bit earlier. How do you know any of the maths behind this by chance, Sultan?
Don't know the exact maths. I can imagine that the slabs wheelbarrow is slightly more efficient than other wheelbarrows because it's really the farming itself that speeds up and not the walking. But I still feel like the 11 farms he was on while getting wheelbarrow is still a bit on the low end in my opinion.
I would agree there. I think it's a 10% farming bonus, isn't it?
Let me double check. Yeah, 10%.
So realistically, you'd want it at kind of, if you're going for 14 farms, you'd want it at 13 or 12 or 13 farms instead. And usually you do 16 farms, so it'd be roughly 14 instead, I think.
Yeah, I think something like that would have been something I agree with, yeah.
If we're nitpicking, of course.
If we're nitpicking, yeah, exactly. So what's kind of nice for Ola here is that although there was some early aggression from HighFlyer here, now he basically manages to wall up a bit later, so it's a bit less heavy on the eco than the early walls of HighFlyer, right?
Absolutely.
So he's not too far behind on the eco, although he invested quite a bit more. We see HighFlyer clicking up now, and Ola will soon be following, yep. But he's also dropping a stone gate right now.
Oh, so he's kind of ready to prepare to defend this area and not really allow the front being pressured.
What this tells me, if I see my opponent do this, I'm playing Slavs versus Berbers, I see my opponent drop a stone gate, then I'm kind of thinking like, okay, he's gonna be on stone and he's gonna do a Camo Archer follow-up. Because otherwise you're not randomly gonna drop a stone gate there.
Oh, and something pointed out by PT, thank you, that OLAD actually forgot to get the blacksmith before, that's why he couldn't click up at that moment. So in this situation as Slavs, would you prefer to see kind of like a booming play, or would you prefer to see more of like a Castle Age all-in? What are you thinking here?
So this is kind of interesting because I feel like Castle Age is the hardest part of this matchup for Slavs. Because the Berber cheaper knights are just quite a serious threat. They can get onto Camo Archers, and it can just be a bit scary. And for me, if you get in early late imp, oh boy, disaster piece.
I'd sacrifice one villager and keep the other one. Don't let them in, don't let them in!
Can he? He cannot.
Oh no, I would like, that's gonna be one fill down, possibly a second, and that's value the scouts would not have otherwise gotten. The spears are forward for HighFlyer, they're being sent back now. So
he's producing one knight and he's sending it straight to his eco, but that is yikes.
We do see HighFlyer going straight for pikeman, as you said, getting that one knight as well. Oh no! And the scouts are gonna also get value over here on the TC being built. That gives OLAD a lot of information.
They got forging and bloodlines. That is rough to feel by. So, you know what I think here is that I like the approach to drop 3 TCs, because I feel like if you get to early imp with Slavs, you're in a pretty nice spot. Slavs has pretty nice defensive tools. They have the cheapest siege, they have Redemption Monk, so under these TCs you have a pretty alright time booming if you get some good TC placement.
And I've also seen people also, as Slavs, even Stonewall, to buy more time, and they get the siege out, they get the monks, they get the pikes, and it's really hard to push with any units against that kind of composition.
It is pretty rough, yeah. At the same time, going like full boom against an opponent that probably wants to go pretty aggressive is slightly scary, but it's very interesting because Ola dropped the Stone Gate, but he, yeah, apparently is going for second TC here. I really expected him to go on Stone and maybe opt into Camel Archers early to protect the pikeman switch, but apparently, yeah, that's not his plan.
And often, also, just a bit of background from OLADUSHEK from what we've seen, he does tend to go for these Camel Archers pretty soon. Like, we often see him on Stone in the Feudal Age, so it's a little bit of a different play from him.
So that is very interesting to me, because this is initially why I wasn't too fond of HighFlyer's line of play, because like I said, if I see that Stone Gate, I expect my opponent to be on Stone and going Camel Archers. So I'm not sure if I would tag into Pikeman immediately then. But apparently that's not the line of play of Ola here, so that's kind of working out for HighFlyer in the end.
Absolutely. We do see, so HighFlyer got Forging, maybe for the Pikes, over going for +1 defense on, he must, does he have +1? I can't even select the Pike behind it.
No, he doesn't have +1 defense.
So it's a little strange to me that went for Forging first. Is there any kind of reasoning behind this?
I'm not entirely sure, but I believe he did that when he still had the scouts alive and he tried to break in. So
Okay.
he probably wanted to prioritize something that also affected his scouts while he was on the way to Castle Age.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So 2TC play for Ola and a Monastery going down as well, and I'm kind of curious what the reasoning is for the Monastery. Is it like getting relics in early, but that feels a bit weird because you don't really want to play this matchup for late? And HighFlyer has like a couple of knights out, but not enough to warrant a Monastery in my opinion.
It might be preemptive here. Is it worth getting the Monastery for relics, even if you get them for like, not necessarily for late game, but like, just to kind of get.
So
them?
it does pay off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's an amazing sin to drop a Monastery. But in my opinion, if you're playing to invest into eco, then adding a 30C before going for relics will be a more wise investment. So in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to add a Monastery before the 30C. Afterwards, I could be like, okay, this is fine. You're just getting the relics for free gold.
I would 100% agree there. We also do see OLADUSHEK actually secured 2 relics thanks to his map gen here. Very nice for him, honestly.
Pretty nice, and the relics do pay off pretty quickly, so it is nice that he is paying attention to the relics, but I feel like it's slightly too early, especially given the matchup, and he's still so heavy on knights. He's even getting +2 defense for knights, but in the meantime HighFlyer is just easily constantly creating pikes from 1 barrack, and he can defend this, or actually even stop creating pikes for now.
He has got quite a bit of gold floating at the moment. I did just drop a market, and we're going to see a bit of market rebalance here. Did you need to buy all of those resources though? It seems like a little bit of an overbalance in my opinion. Balancing 700 gold just then.
Maybe slightly, and I have to say I am not really too fond of the 40Cs dropping currently. I feel like 40C gameplay like this is a bit greedy, and if he does drop it, then I really feel like he should secure another wood line with this, because he only has the wood line in the back secured currently, which is getting chopped up real quick here.
Something interesting though is that we're seeing supplies and squires coming in for OLADUSHEK. So we might actually be doing... I'm not sure, he must be planning to go for longswords or champions towards the late game.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I saw him getting +1 defense for infantry earlier as well, so it looks like he will be going for the champion line here. And it's a really interesting call in my opinion. Because yeah, it's gonna be pretty decent against Harp Siege, right? But I'm not sure if it's a winning line of play, because Slavs has answers to this. And because this is kind of what I dislike about the line of play of going champions here currently. That is, you're never gonna get towards Imp if you want to continue creating army, and if you don't create army, you're not gonna have any pressure, and the longswords aren't going to be great at pressuring. Yes, you have a great counter unit out, but I'm not sure if it's really value to use longswords in Castle Age.
That being said, if for example, HighFlyer had entire army of just pikes and some siege, longswords should theoretically win that. And like, if he does get a really good fight going towards late castle, or well, that being OLADUSHEK's late castle, do you reckon that could swing the game in its favor?
So what I think is like, if this goes undiscovered for too long for HighFlyer, he's at a risk of being overrun by the initial push of longswords. But Slavs has really solid answers to longswords in my opinion. They can just tag into their own longswords, it will be more efficient with the eco they have behind it. Has the free supplies anyway, so that's pretty nice to transition into as well. And next to that, they can also just add the cheapest scorpions behind this, and that will be a decent, like, temporary band-aid fix as well.
We do see OLADUSHEK also dropping a 4th TC somewhere. I'm not trying to scout it, but he's setting the knights in a little bit here, and the monks are getting a bit of conversion. Let's have a look at HighFlyer's point of view and see if you can see these longswords. The longswords coming forward.
Oh, now he can.
And that gives HighFlyer time to take it, enter them, and there's into his own longsword line. We also see the scorpion here, so now he'll be able to add on or mangonels here at least.
So this is a really interesting point of the game, because we know if this game goes on long, HighFlyer is definitely in a winning position, because he will be able to get out his own champs. Yeah, he's already taking into Man at Arms currently, so it's gonna be a bit to tag into it, but he will have a good answer to this in my opinion. But he does need to survive now. He has a better eco, he has a 15 villager lead, and he's up to imp already, but he needs to be careful that he doesn't get overrun by this mass and throw into many units.
And OLADUSHEK's also going, so it looks like he's going for an all-in castle age here. Now he's realized he's behind, and I actually kind of like this. I think that the 4th TC was unnecessary, but I really actually kind of like this all-in castle approach now that he is behind.
Yeah, me too, to be honest. Especially if you do go for the longswords, I think it's just way better to just commit to full castle age here, because trying to get up to imp with this unit composition is very costly, and it's not really, yeah, you're probably just behind your opponent, because he can do the same thing and do it better than you, right?
Exactly.
What I would have liked to see though is the castle in a different position. I feel like it's really hard to realize, and I would have struggled with this as well. But I feel like Ola should have realized he just cleared most of the army and should have put the castle on one of the golds of HighFlyer, or maybe even like the gold and the 3 boot lines, right? He could have been way greedier with the castle placement.
There was a lot of barracks there, so maybe he was a little bit concerned that he'd be struggling to get it up. I think it's better to have the castle going up than to have it accidentally denied. So I do understand why OLADUSHEK might not have wanted to go too aggressive with the castle.
But I think it's a really hard thing to do, and it's something I'm currently learning from my own gameplay as well. But kind of realizing when you can kind of seize these moments where you actually cleared your opponent's army is really crucial into pushing an advantage, especially if you're doing a castle age all-in against someone who's imping.
That's true. And the thing is, HighFlyer would... what I'd like to see him do here, I think, is mix... I think he's already kind of doing it. But mix Halb champion, or leave in 2-handed swordsman, I think will do fine here. And add a couple of trebs and push this castle back, and then I think he'll be in an okay position.
Yeah, just surviving is good enough for him here. If he can get enough 2-handed swordsman out, he should be in a fine position here. He doesn't need Regina yet, he doesn't need anything except maybe the last armor upgrade.
That I believe is coming in the queue at the moment.
Ah, yeah, it is, great.
Something I also, he did queue them briefly, but I actually kind of agree with him if he wasn't going for trebs here. A couple of boyars here actually could be quite nice. Not so much to deal damage, but to soak damage.
Because it looks really strong, but a few monks that are out for Ola makes it slightly scary in my opinion.
That's true actually, I didn't think of the monks there. And then it's turning on your own units.
Yeah, and they're pretty decent against your own units as well. And this is what I really like. Ola is dropping a castle on the right and kind of pressuring their gold. Could have been slightly greedier, but I feel like he doesn't have enough pressure for the stage where he wants to be. He's up to imp now, but I feel like he's playing a losing game at this stage.
It's 2 traps on the castle. I do think this castle's going to go down for OLADUSHEK. There's a lot of rams coming forward as well. Maybe, I think actually... Maybe I'm gonna be eating my words any second now. That these Rams are actually gonna clean the trebs. He's repairing his trebs though.
It's actually working. There's another trap on the way as well.
Yeah, so that castle's gonna go down, but let's check now.
It is getting repaired.
Longswords on this right-hand side. I like to see a Mangonel out for HighFlyer just to try and clean these Scorpions.
Yeah, the Scorps are getting way more value than they should be getting currently, to be honest.
I feel like HighFlyer may be in a bit of a survival mindset as opposed to... oh, is he going for... I think OLAD's going for another castle right in between the eco. Oh, he's got the stone for it though. Is Vil rushing the TC?
Wow, that is a commitment.
But the thing is, he's all HighFlyer's kind of losing the push on the left-hand side at the moment.
So this is really interesting. I feel like HighFlyer took quite some time to realize that a raid on the right-hand side was happening. Lost quite a bit of eco doing so. His eco is in a bit of a bigger spot anyway, lots of idols and lots to focus on. And I feel like he's really getting punished for two things. That is, first of all, getting too much helps out when there's nothing the helps are really good against. And second of all, I kind of lost that point if I'm completely honest. Oh yeah, not really getting a fix for the Scorpions of the opponent. Or getting your own Scorpions.
Or even, I think Mangonel, Scorpion, anything like would have been fine there. Just not, or even for God's sake, put a Ram in front. Like, you just need something to kind of absorb a bit of the Scorpion fire there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Camel here, by the way. It's just that HighFlyer has been taking very many inefficient fight, but it's also because he stacked into Hulp so harshly, where it was not really necessary.
And Pikes would have done fine, wouldn't they?
Sorry?
Just mixing the Pikes and two-handed swordsman would have been fine, let alone getting Hulp there.
Yeah, I feel like Hulp was just a bit of a weird choice, because he didn't see any Kev, and he just needed to get towards more champions earlier rather than investing in Hulp.
I actually really like that OLAD's actually gone for the champions here, because I did say earlier that they do get full upgraded champions and it would be interesting to see if he goes for them. But I kind of didn't expect him to.
In my opinion, it's just kind of silly what we see happening over here, right? Because OLAD is just basically doing what HighFlyer is supposed to be doing, like get the champ Hulp plus siege out, but that is a composition that HighFlyer should do a better job at, but he's losing against it because of the engagements he has been taking.
And does he have access to any... He does have access to this gold on the left at the moment, but it will be pressured very soon, and there's no more gold in HighFlyer's base that he can safely access. And he's lost the two rights he had secured earlier. I think this game might be over.
This is a bigger scenario, and like the extra gold on the left is also being guarded by OLAD's Knights. I'm not sure if it's on purpose, and just as I say that, he drags them away. Damn it, OLAD, why are you doing this to me?
This is you're trying to make a 200 IQ prediction.
I'm just saying, like, oh, I respect his play. Like,
yeah,
having
definitely.
these Knights on the extra gold so your opponent can't sneak out, and then just dragging them away as I'm complimenting him. Damn.
HighFlyer now with the better upgrades on these two-handed swordsmen though. And he has got a Boyar out on the field. Not at the time for Boyars is out, but now OLADUSHEK actually has champions and Blast Furnace in the queue.
That is pretty big here. I feel like, oh, and the raids on the gold as well. Maybe he's not guarding the extra gold anymore, but he is killing the gold there, and that is huge. You don't need a lot of gold to sustain two-hand production, but to get champ and all the kind of stuff, this is really big.
I actually think that if OLADUSHEK went for like that kind of all-in castle age, all-in early castle age anyway, I feel like it might not have worked quite the same way. I actually really respect this line of play from OLADUSHEK, waiting to get his eco going first and going in for a late all-in kind of castle age and early imp.
Just found it so interesting because I feel like the time that Ola was getting up to imp and not investing in new army, that should have been the time that HighFlyer should have been able to get his own mass of champs out, and he likes being champ siege more than your opponent, right?
I think as you said, it was just too much commitment to the Halb there, and I don't even think Halb needed to be teched. I just think that mixing Pike and two-handed swordsman eventually getting you know, what am I thinking here? Eventually getting Howl, eventually getting Champion here, depending on what your opponent makes. Kind of being reactive in that situation a little bit more than blind countering.
But looking at the state of the game, I guess it isn't over yet. This is really risky for HighFlyer because he doesn't really have clean access to gold and he needs to find a way to get it. But he's actually doing a decent job getting on numbers. The only thing he will struggle against is the Camel Archers. But at the same time, Ola has switched into Cavalier, which is something I honestly really dislike it.
Yeah, agreed. There's no need to be going Cavalier here. I know that your opponent's making a lot of champions, but you've got the Scorpions for that. You've got the Camel Archers for that.
So, Cavalier, in my opinion, save the gold for the Camel Archers. And add Light Cav in front if you want a meteor like that, but you know your opponent is on Halberdier already, so it's kind of risky.
That, I think I agree with you there 100%. Like, this seems a little strange, but then at the same time, I think Olad's in this part of the game where he can almost do anything. Because there's just no gold access for HighFlyer. I mean, he has got 3 villagers on this gold out here, but it's not really a winning position, is it? GG is called.
The GG is called, and I think that is fair. His eco was kind of to the limit. He just trickled in too many army, and honestly, I thought he was getting back into this game when he cleared the right hand side.
Yeah.
But he just took a really bad fight on the 2 castles after that. I feel like if he chilled out a bit more, just secured the right hand gold, maybe he would have been able to crawl back into the game.
I'm actually a little bit surprised. I thought HighFlyer was going to win that one in kind of like that mid-Imperial Age. Once he got that massive 2-handed swordsman going, I thought that, okay, now's when things start going a little bit better. I thought they was going to add a little bit of siege. I know it was getting a little bit stretched. Eco was getting a bit stretched, especially as gold economy. But I feel like at that kind of point, if you don't make anything for the Scorpions, they are eventually going to get the value that we saw there, and then eventually the Camel Archers.
But it just feels a bit silly because I feel like HighFlyer set up better eco and he has the better Civ to do exactly what Olad is doing or has been doing this game. But he just didn't put it off because of the fights he have been taken. And that is just really a bit of macro decision making that basically cost him the game.
Absolutely. We will go to game 2 and HighFlyer has actually given me the game code. Give me 1 second, I'll pass that over to you.
And honestly, I feel like this really could have been closer if HighFlyer didn't commit to the Halberdier as much and realized he needed a champ switch early, because he did see the longswords kind of early, right?
Yeah. Maybe he didn't think that Olad was going to commit to them as much, so that might have been an actual decision from HighFlyer deciding, okay, his Berbers is not going to commit to this. I've got eventually the better champions. I feel like that's a decision-making mistake, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that really was the mistake mainly costing him the game, because for the rest it was pretty close, in my opinion.
We do have game 2 on Islands. Oh, and before I forget, I will update the scoreboard.
So we have Ravines and Islands as the home map for HighFlyer.
So we're on Islands. Have you loaded into the game?
No, did you pass me the
It
code
should
already?
be on Discord, unless I sent it to the wrong person.
I think you sent it to the wrong person, buddy.
I'm so sorry, Salted.
No issue at all.
Oh dear. But whilst you're getting in, no thanks to me, we do have a Vikings versus Italians on Islands, and without telling you who's picked which, what civ do you prefer on Islands?
I'm already in the game.
Okay.
So what it is, I used to be a bigger fan of Italians, but lately I feel like Vikings, with just Fudo galleys, are doing a pretty good job dealing with it. I feel like if you backdock as Vikings, you have enough time to get some galleys in. You always risk losing your fish that way and kind of be set back in eco in that sense. But I feel like you can take the cost-efficient trades with Vikings later on.
And the other thing I find with this as well is, like, yes, you might lose your fish, but then once you've got the galley switch and you've got that massive galleys, you take full water control, and then your opponent can't really easily redock if you are being vigilant.
And the galleys also give you the opportunity to snipe the opponent's fish pretty quickly, because the galleys simply are fast, and the only thing you need to be careful with the galleys is that you don't get sandwiched, but otherwise you slowly get to eat away at your opponent's fire galleys.
That being said, Italians can do like fires into galleys relatively decently, and I feel like if HighFlyer doesn't take bad trades or doesn't lose too many fire galleys, be it from either demo ships or galleys himself, I feel like HighFlyer could take some pretty good trades going to kind of like that mid-feudal where he has the galleys and the fire galleys threatening.
So I'm like really far from an expert on islands in that kind of sense, but what I kind of feel like the Italian's objective is here, like, you open up with fire galleys with an earlier feudal time, hopefully. Hopefully you get to snipe the opponent's fish, and from there on you transition into galleys as well, because otherwise your fires are just going to be kited. Maybe you manage to defend your own fish from there on with your galleys plus eventual fire galleys that are left, and see if you can maybe make your way up to Castle Age and see if you can take a power spike there. But otherwise, I feel like the Viking galleys will be much more cost efficient.
I also feel like Vikings' win condition here essentially is longboats. Yes, longboats do eventually die to, I think, massed fires from memory, but it's one of those things where it's once you got a massive longboats, they can just kite around the entire map.
So for longboats, and once again, not an expert for islands, but longboats really have the speed advantage, and they're insane against fires for that reason. But they are not extremely cost efficient versus regular galleons eventually.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know. So then Viking galleons later on become more cost efficient for these kind of fights. So there's a really strong spike where the longboats can be good. But I feel like in general it might not be the best option in this matchup.
Okay, fair enough.
That being said, by the way, given what we just discussed earlier, I really dislike Ola docking in the front. As Vikings, I would always dock at the back.
I do agree that although what I have seen people kind of doing is a lot of investment, but instead of docking the back, sometimes I see people docking the front. They put 2 or 3 docks in a close area, and they actually tower up really early to defend the docks.
Interesting. I haven't seen that before.
That might just be a Milo thing, Salted, honestly.
I mean, the concept is interesting. I feel like it isn't technically correct, but it could work for a long way. HighFlyer getting Omega House, by the way, and clicking Lumum Islands on his home map, that's a bit of a bummer.
Well, it's like getting Loom before going up though, which is not usually necessary on islands either, so... I feel like OLADUSHEK maybe hasn't played too much islands before this. We see him getting a transport ship. Let's go, we're gonna see a landing.
Oh boy.
Or an attempted landing.
To be honest, I feel like he should be able to win this with Vikings, but if you're not confident on islands, as it is your opponent's home map, then this is an interesting line of play. You're just saying, okay, we're not doing the regular islands line of play, so I'm not giving you your home map as you want it.
I kind of respect it, honestly. I feel like this could do really well for OLAD if he can get away with it. I feel like he's going to send 4 villagers and a scout, and he's going to go to one of these corners of the map.
Okay. Wait, Shadow. 200 IQ thing here. You make a transport ship, you send over your scout, and you make your enemy paranoid that there are villies on his island. So he has to drop his own barracks and range, and you just commit to water instead.
That actually could be 200 IQ, honestly. Although, that being said, the transport ship is quite a bit of wood from memory.
125. It's quite a bit of wood. But if your opponent drops a barracks, it's basically saved already.
We also could just see OLADUSHEK preparing for a landing later as well. So he dropping a second dock.
Yeah, he didn't send his Veils over. I think this is a bit weird, because he has 6 on gold, which kind of indicates like he's going some sort of archers, but he didn't transport Veils over. And he's dropping a second dock, but for double dock galleys, you only need 3 on gold.
Oh, only 3 on gold? I didn't even know
that. For regular galleys, so not for fire galleys, but bit of a weird line of play of him there, in my opinion.
I feel like he is maybe just trying to do a full debate, trying to scare HighFlyer into...
Okay. There we have it.
It's working!
Panic barrack.
Oh, that's amazing. And then I might buy him enough time to get the galley numbers if HighFlyer thinks, okay, OLADUSHEK isn't on water and he doesn't scout that he hasn't got 2 docks. OLADUSHEK could just buy enough time. He's going for a 3rd dock now. And maybe this is just using the Viking cheaper docks in a bonus for once.
So this is kind of interesting. So HighFlyer starts walling off the map, kind of nice move. It's really interesting because he dropped down the barrack instantly, right? But he doesn't idle his dogs, at least not on purpose, I believe, to get something like a range up. He just, yeah, is happy with the barracks and is kind of producing fire galleys now.
Like I said, the fire guy is pathing a little bit weirdly. Maybe HighFlyer doesn't have any information on where OLADUSHEK is, but I think based on what he's currently scouted, you can kind of assume where he would be.
Yeah, I guess he just wants to make sure he takes out the transport ship before anything happens, as he just gives up the chase on the transport ship, which is a bit weird. But let's look at military numbers here. We have 4 military for HighFlyer and 4 for OLAD, but for HighFlyer we have a scout, so we have a galley lead on the fire galleys.
It's a little bit surprising to actually see the galleys not actually being queued and just kind of left in the docks at the moment. I thought he needed fletching. Oh, he's getting fletching right now to say that. But for them to be particularly good against fight guys, I'm pretty sure that once you get fletching, then they become pretty strong.
And now HighFlyer is finally going to realize that Ola isn't playing all in on the landing.
Oh, the demo
nice
on the
demo
ship.
on the fish, but just doesn't get the other one. That's kind of a shame.
HighFlyer could also look at going for like a lot of flyers, trying to keep his numbers up and then upgrading them. And maybe going for an early castle age play, but I just don't know how he wins this matchup now. He's got 51 food in the bag, 3 on food. And his fish, he's 1 down on the fish at the moment as well.
He's adding another dog now, but if you look at HighFlyer's base, he also has an archer range with 2 skirms. The 200 freaking IQ stretch is completely did it.
I have to say that OLADUSHEK a bit of a masterpiece there. Hello, Next Gen Fox. How are you doing today?
If he did it on purpose, that is a freaking masterpiece. Like, I only thought about it when he was on the way there with the scout and the transport, but it actually freaking happened. What a mad lad.
I guess that is kind of like using those tournament nerves for your advantage almost.
But I'm really curious if that was his plan from the get-go. Nice demo hit there.
Is there any hope of clearing a mass of galleys in the feudal age in this situation?
So I feel like this is really heading south for HighFlyer, because the bigger that mass of galleys gets, the worse it becomes for him. And I feel like this is the moment that Ola could already be forward with the galleys and just slowly chip away at the fires, because he has a speed advantage, right? He can just get free damage in at any time, and that's why I like the galley play more and more than the regular fire galley play on a map like Islands where you can't get cornered easily.
That's true. I haven't even thought about the map shape until just then. I feel like as long as OLAD actually kind of patrols onto these docks as well, he can. Oh, he's going too deep. He's gonna lose his galleys. This is a big mistake by OLADUSHEK. Taking all that damage for free. Probably gonna lose at least 1 of his galleys. Realizing just in time though.
Slightly too late. He's getting a lot of damage here. So that means if he picks another fight and he just doesn't kite well enough, he can lose numbers really quickly, which is very risky.
But maybe it's another 400 IQ situation. Oh, he's going straight. Okay, get rid of that transport. I actually kind of like
a demo queued in every single dock right now.
I feel like that's almost a bit of an overreaction when you've got this massive galleys.
I feel like investing in galleys is just a way better investment currently, because I don't feel like this is losing as long as he continues kiting. Sure, 1 or 2 demos is nice to kind of punish. Oh, and he's kind of putting himself in the corner here, but the demo's getting enough value.
Absolutely. Is there a point where you'd like to see HighFlyer switching into his own galleys here, and HighFlyer making archers on his mainland?
Wait, does HighFlyer knows that there isn't a landing at this point? He scouted his whole island, so that must mean that he's planning his own landing with archers.
That could be that could be fun. That could be fun.
And I like the decision, because one of the worst things, so whenever I play islands, I just freaking love to land. Spoilers, if you ever play against me in a tournament, I'll probably try and land you. The worst thing that can happen if you land someone is they freaking send a few archers with a transport to your island, because all your ranges are on the wrong freaking island.
Well, it could be like T19, have them all in the neutral and in the middle.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. I mean, that's next level, having your ranges on the wrong island. I feel like Ola is slightly too passive here. I feel like he can just constantly be in HighFlyer's face with these galleys, kind of chip away HP at the fire galleys.
I feel like he almost wants to. This is not saying this is the best play for him, but he almost is seeming to want to keep his galley numbers alive just to get to war galley and then kind of go forwards.
So I really dislike him kind of kiting towards that corner there. I mean, he will be fine because he has such a number lead at this point. But he can do this all game, right? He can just kind of chase these fires and stay at appropriate distance and just chip away. In the meantime, Oda will almost be clicking up. He's really floating the rest to click up, but he didn't have the second building yet. Now as the market is up, he
managed
will be
to get
clicking
up as well.
And he did. Let me see how many market magic has been used. The prices aren't too bad. Some wood has been sold, some food has been bought, but nothing too bad.
And he did sell his stones, so this is probably an all-in at this stage.
Ooh, interesting move, but I think I like it.
I would agree. Like, if you're playing from behind on a map like Islands, I don't think you can do anything but that kind of play.
And then there's like this other thing on Islands, which I really hope won't be relevant this game, but having a bigger eco on Islands isn't the biggest thing most of the time. It's more about making sure you can always take efficient fights, because otherwise you also chop through all the wood on your island really quickly, and you can lose because of that reason later in the game. But I really hope this isn't going to be the game where we run out of wood.
Yeah, because those kind of games do end up as being a landing fiesta of usually something like Condottieri, where you just flood from one side of the island and you have no economy. But it doesn't matter because you saved up enough res to constantly flood your opponent's island and keep your island safe from landing. It's kind of like a hostage situation, sorry.
I can't wait to see the epic showdown between Condottiero and Berserkers.
Well, I mean, Berserkers win every time, right?
I think they should, yeah. Okay, so both players up. Upgrades coming in as expected. Careening for HighFlyer being added. No botkin for him yet, but given he's on fires, that it's understandable, I guess.
Would you like to see OLADUSHEK adding a Oh, there we go. I was going to say University for Ballistics. And I very much agree with this play.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's the right line of play. He's also adding a TC. I'm not sure how I feel about that completely.
No, but the upgrade coming in slightly earlier for HighFlyer. And one of the beautiful things here for these fire galleys is that at this stage of the game I feel like the fire galleys can get a bit of value. It's harder to micro them down like this.
It's really awkward how the turning time of the galleys is so much bigger when they become war galleys. But you know, the thing is, this is where longbows would absolutely rule, right? Because they're really good at fire ships, because longbows can kite for days.
How are arrows more effective versus buildings than fire? That's also a good point. Ask the original makers of AoE 2. HighFlyer actually mentioned to cut off the reinforcements for OLADUSHEK though, and I feel like if he can keep these armies split and take out the docks like he's doing right now, we might see HighFlyer able to make a comeback at the moment.
There's many numbers going down for Ola right now. It's a bit sloppy. He's also still on... Well, he's on 4 docks currently, which isn't... Yeah, actually, yeah, both players are on 4 docks. That's better than I expected. But I would really love to see the longbow switch. And yeah, that
just
is...
As you say,
he's adding longbows now.
The question is, as Italians, what do you do here? Oh, and look at the demo. Getting not a huge shot, but definitely a decent shot in there. And it's all about that HP as well for HighFlyer.
Definitely.
Remind me, fire galleys do produce slightly faster than galleys, right?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Look at that longboat. Oh, that is pathing in a little bit too close. I believe they are a bit squishier than war galleys, but not by a huge margin. See if we can find one. That's 5 less HP, nothing too crazy.
It's a bit less, but not too bad. And the speed is definitely making up for it, especially against fires.
OLADUSHEK going into that corner, like you said a couple of times before, and kind of effectively allowing a HighFlyer to sit his fire galleys there and snipe these ships.
Like, is that corner magnetic or something? Like, every once in a while, Ola just gets stuck in that corner for some reason, where he just really wants to use the mobility and run around the map.
But I feel like I still don't feel like this is winning for HighFlyer. This is more holding at the moment.
Oh, the demo is gonna be pretty big. Everything is just low HP now. And HighFlyer is making a really good point here, because sorry, Hammer Time is making a really good point here that HighFlyer is happy with any eco trade he can take, because the bigger the Viking mouse gets, the harder it gets to deal with it.
We see.
Now it feels like he's starting to trickle in.
Sorry, I just have to interrupt you for a second. We see a transport ship. The landing's about to happen.
Oh, the 2 skirm and 1 archer landing. I am stoked.
But if it's the 2 skirm and archers to protect the villagers whilst they make 16 barracks and somehow HighFlyer gets to Imp and just goes Condottiero.
Yeah, he's sending the 2 vills now. That's making me happy.
There's also not too much of an overcommitment in terms of that. But now OLADUSHEK probably must expect that there'll be a landing if HighFlyer stops making fires. Like, obviously he can't know just yet. And HighFlyer is still making fires for the moment, but as soon as he does stop the production...
I really like that he's continuing to make fires. It really makes it less obvious that he's going for a landing here, but HighFlyer's eco is very on the max right now. He has some gold in the bank, and I imagine he's going to land with like double ranges and go Expo Siege or anything. But it's slightly scary.
I think I'd like to see double range and siege here.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. That makes a lot of sense for an opening. But what is also the case is that Olad is on stone with a TC, so he can drop a defensive castle eventually as well. And to be honest, the way his TCs are clustered also really creates a safe space of a map, especially if he does want to move around with the Expo or anything. He can use the longboats or anything to guard the edges as well.
Salted. Another transport ship, but this time for OLADUSHEK.
Oh, let's go! The double landing bamboozle.
We see stables coming down for HighFlyer. Where's the food eco? What are you gonna do with stables, HighFlyer? Knights are amazing. But there's no food economy here for this. I don't really like this from HighFlyer.
If you're going full fire galleys, it's so much easier to switch towards Expo plus Siege than towards Knights.
Like, we did see HighFlyer on quite a bit of stone, so I assume that he wants to go into either a defensive castle or he wants to go for Genere's crossbow. I think defensive castle makes more sense versus Vikings, so Viking stable on... Oh my god. And a lot of check going on for a stable on HighFlyer's base.
Also stable.
And I don't
but he
get
actually has farms out.
He does have farms, but he doesn't really have the gold economy. Maybe we're gonna see some Viking light cavalry?
Viking light cavalry, let's freaking go.
And HighFlyer with not just 1 stable, not just 2, but 3 stable.
But it doesn't make any sense. He has 6 farms. He has 2 TCs, both are idle. He has 6 farms. He can't even run 1 TC, and he has 2 TCs and 3 stables.
But it's fine.
Oh boy.
We'll see what he does with these knights. There's always a chance where he gets 50 or so Vil kills by some miracle.
I think he's just abusing the market currently.
Also going for 3 stables.
Wait, is it? It's just 1 tile out of range of the scout cap of HighFlyer there.
The thing is, I feel like OLADUSHEK is going to be able to do more damage, even though these are Viking knights. Obviously not the greatest in the game, putting it bluntly. But I'd prefer to be in OLADUSHEK's position where he has eco behind this, and he's adding more villages. He's going to do a castle drop.
So HighFlyer is dropping his castle as well, and I just want to say I hate that castle placement he did initially. He deleted it. He's dropping a new one forward. Only 2 vills on it, but the placement is really nice in my opinion.
And there's no military on OLADUSHEK's base to actually defend against this. Oh, he decides to delete it again, and he's going for the 105
Whoa!
castle. That's a ballsy castle.
I think this castle is worse than the previous one, to be honest.
It's unnecessarily close. Maybe it's like
It
trying
is,
to
and
psych him up.
he only has 2
out.
bills. This is very optimistic. It can get towered or whatever.
And look at look at HighFlyer's eco at the same time.
Can I just thank you, Zoilo, for that remark? That is so true, and that's so deserved.
Did you do a 1-mil castle at some point?
At some point, dude, I do that every other game, I swear.
HighFlyer's just losing what little eco he has to these knights though. And OLADUSHEK will probably just add berserkers behind us, I'd imagine, at some point soon. But OLADUSHEK also struggling on food, but there's a defensive castle for OLADUSHEK. I think he must have bought it because I did not see stone for 2 castles.
Yeah, I think he must have bought a bit of stone there, but not too much. So overall, I think this is looking really good for Olad. He's doing significantly more damage. The veil count is still in his favor. The wood control is a bit iffy for Olad here.
Oh no.
But he can always chop with the wood on.
But it doesn't matter. Look at how many bills under this 2C with the galleys and the... Yeah, it's GG. Oh man, OLADUSHEK playing these games really well. We have to ask him if that was a 300 IQ bait into with that transfer ship initially. Like, I just have no words for it.
So much respect if that was planned from the get-go. Like, if he saw the map pick from HighFlyer and his initial instinct was just like, okay, I'm going for the empty transport play.
Yeah, I agree with Sunset Fly. Like, I'm stunned that it actually ended up working to that effect as well.
And it's so interesting, right? Because yes, it is a 125 wood investment, and you can't do anything else with your dock at that time. But if you let your opponent drop his barrack instead of creating an additional fire, you already get value, right?
And the dock's costing 15% less for Vikings. Not usually a big bonus, but like, when you're making 3 docks anyway, it's half a dock you save, so you can like sort of justify it in the terms of the long-term plan if you do think it might work.
I mean, as soon as your opponent panics and drops down a barrack, you basically have the wood value already, right?
But we will go to game 3. This time I'll actually remember to send you the game ID.
Oh, how kind, Shadow.
I know, right? So we will go to HighFlyer's second home map. Let's just double check which one that was. Ravines. So we're gonna see probably some scouts here.
Some Mongols was banned.
Oh, Indians, Lithuanians.
That is an interesting matchup.
I feel like I could like Indians in this matchup actually. Because Lithuanians don't have the best halbs in the game, and Indians have amazing camels that can deal with Lithuanians' two of their best units, their skirmishers obviously, and their knights or even Letis.
I mean, their halbs are still pretty decent. I mean, they are still faster. They still have the piece armor from the unique tag. So they're definitely not bad in my opinion, especially against something like Indians.
I guess the speed bonus does come in a little more into play when you are using them against camels a little bit. But I don't love lacking that PS armor, lacking the melee armor too much.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's really relevant to miss at 1 armor against Indian camels, if I'm honest.
True. It more matters if you're against kind of like a paladin more so than an imperial camel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't really do the math and how much attacks it takes and how much of a difference that is, but I can imagine the difference is more important against something like knights.
Okay, we are in game. In terms of kind of like feudal, instant drush from OLADUSHEK. Let's go.
Oh, is he gonna be a lamer boy and kill all the deers?
Oh, if he does, like, that would just tilt me to no end if I was HighFlyer here. Like, I'm not surprised by the instant rush. OLADUSHEK going for some different strategies to what I've seen. Kind of pulling out all the stuff.
Keep in mind, like, above our server interrupting, but this is HighFlyer's home map we're playing on. Last game as well, HighFlyer's home map. And who is here with a unique and innovative strategy? It's freaking Ola.
They also might be in response to the map itself. Maybe he doesn't love Ravines. He's kind of like, okay, this is a strategy I want to try. Let's go for it.
it's slightly do or die, and the Drush is probably. I mean, it could have some additional value, right? Because if your opponent wants to move out for a wood line, it's pretty far from his CC as well. So the militia have a lot of potential on this map.
A little bit strange from OLAD here, though. I think you don't normally get Loom on the Lithuanian Drush. Because now you can't queue his third militia.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, because he still has 3 Veils in the queue, right? And oh, this is an Omega house, so the Loom timing and not the extra militia, this is definitely not a build he has practiced insane amount. He's also sending a Veil forward.
And the Veil makes up for the militia?
Maybe that's why he did the Loom, I don't know, but I think that's a mistake, because your eco is already so fragile if you do this.
If I'm HighFlyer here, I think I go and use my Veils to try and kill all the deer so that OLAD can't. But then maybe that's valued on already, so OLAD's actually gonna kill the deer himself with the villager. And HighFlyer can't range the militia here. He's gonna get Loom, which is actually, I think, the right response here.
Just get this cat. Yeah, I like it. Just get Loom, and your Dark Age eco is gonna be so much better. No, I don't think so, Camo. I think he sent a Veil forward on purpose by the looks of it.
But then he's also I think maybe he was trying to make it so the deer were less efficient or something. The Veil forwards. The thing is, he's only killed 2 directly with the
militia. Yeah.
And
he doesn't know where the second deer patch is.
Although on a ravines, I'm pretty sure it does usually spawn in this kind of 180 degree, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't consistently played enough ravines to know that for sure.
Let's have a look at the Vil counts though. 12 for HighFlyer, 11 for OLADUSHEK. Oh, quickly kill your deer with your villager, HighFlyer.
So this is the risk of the elite rush. If you don't have enough practice in, you're just gonna cost your own Veils. And yeah, sure, your opponent's deer are less efficient, but I kind of like HighFlyer's decision to just drop a mail on it and be chill with it. I'm not sure if it's mathematically correct, but I think it's an okay line of play.
No, I would agree there as well. Especially as it's 3 deer worth and you do want the food in at a reasonable time. But OLADUSHEK only just going to wood, so it's not kind of a lumber camp for ages, which means if HighFlyer can get to the fuel age at a reasonable time, scouts are just going to deny a lumber camp going down in the first place.
And it's just kind of sad that OLAD lost his own scout as well, because now his deer taking is so inefficient as well. It's kind of a joke.
It's worse.
All he did was like make HighFlyer's deer taking less efficient, but now his own deer is just a disaster piece, and his woodline as well.
What woodline?
What would? Yeah. Oh boy. So
I feel like OLADUSHEK has actually come into this and decided to try this rather than having particularly practiced it too much.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't see the cleanest of starts here. But that being said, these 2 militia are still kind of getting a bit of value here. And causing a bit of HighFlyer idle time. Do you just ignore these militia and put them back to work? And then eventually kill them when they get too close?
So every time they come close, you try to get a hit in, otherwise you just send your Veils back to work. You just slowly wear down the Drush on the HP on a Drush. That's how you deal with it.
Especially with 2 militia, like 2 militia, especially with loomed Veils, you can. I think they lose 1-on-1 to villagers, or that might be depending on who gets the first game.
Like completely 1-on-1, a militia wins because a militia always gets the first hit.
Okay.
But otherwise, stat-wise, they are the same. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure about this, but not 100%. So don't quote me on this.
A dinner time with Salty and Shadow. That actually could be a little bit of a show, couldn't it, Tillion? So I don't think we're even going to get to the point where it's Imp Camels versus Halb anyway. I think we're going to get to the stage of who gets the first scouts up first. Pretty clearly to me it's going to be HighFlyer. Although it's going to be a little bit later.
Looking at the ecos, it's pretty clear that it's just going to be scouts against OLAD's Veils, and that's not looking too promising.
And it's going to be before OLAD can make any spears anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be really rough. He's still like... Wait, he actually is pretty close to clicking up now. Closer than I thought he was, but
same,
it's still quite a bit later.
And also, it's not like, the thing is as well that OLAD's eco behind this is a little bit, well actually quite a bit weaker than HighFlyer. HighFlyer having an extra villager and being up sooner.
Yeah, I think effectively 2 extra builds if the feudal age time is also calculated in.
But HighFlyer, has he dropped a barracks yet? Because I don't think he's dropped a barracks and he doesn't have the wood for it. I think he might struggle
Drush
a
keeps
little bit.
idling the wood line.
At HighFlyer, I know this is annoying, but you need to keep your villagers working here. Oh, the barracks has already dropped. Excuse
Barracks
me.
in the front, yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say for a second, like, if he didn't have the wood for a barracks and then he couldn't afford the stable, that would have been Drush achieving all the value it needed to in a way.
I mean, in a way, it got some value, right? Because HighFlyer definitely is up later than he otherwise would have been, but then again, OLAD is so much later as well, and Simply Steel is down in Vilcant, which is a bit awkward.
I think I'd like to see HighFlyer commit to Bloodline Scouts here, just to try and capitalize off of the fact that he has a stronger eco going into the feudal age. I think you can kind of assume if you're against the Lithuanian Drush that you will likely have a better eco.
It's Indian civilian, not Malay. I know the symbols look alike.
Especially,
but, I would.
Oh, sorry, continue.
Sorry, go ahead. So I think that full feudal plays is the way to go for HighFlyer here. He just is up quite a bit earlier. He's Indians. He likes his line of play here. Lit's bonus basically has been used on the militia, right? So I feel like he is ahead in the scout war, and if he can follow up with archers, he can really punish the map of OLAD here. And
the best part for Indians in this matchup as well is that they get cheaper vills, so that he'll be able to keep producing more easily than OLADUSHEK will be able to.
He said, as HighFlyer's TC was unfortunately idle.
It was idle for quite a while, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it happens. Vilcant's still kinda equal, but OLAD will be catching up in a little.
HighFlyer does need to be sitting some more farms here, floating just a little bit too much wood for my liking.
I definitely agree. 11 on wood is quite a bit for this build anyway.
And HighFlyer kind of idling a little bit of everything here at the moment. Bit of a spear war over here. Lithuanian spears are faster, but they don't get anything else special here.
I mean, it's still pretty nice that they are faster. It helps you catching some hits on the scouts and everything, but we still have the militia out.
And what do you think of HighFlyer's walls behind us? I'm thinking they're a little bit greedy. He does have a bit of map control though, so he can almost get away with it.
You know what it is? I think pros would do these walls eventually on this map as well, and I think it basically pays off in Scout War. Can I just really randomly, sorry, but just a second to point out, oh never mind, let's go to the fight first.
Oh absolutely, look at those. The one bill going down and the spears also engaging on the scouts for HighFlyer. That was actually a really good fight for HighFlyer. And it's going to be able to pick up another villager here. Possibly. One scout going down for OLADUSHEK, one scout going down for HighFlyer, but 2 vills down for OLADUSHEK. But the vill count 29 to 27, so the vill count difference actually hasn't changed because the HighFlyer did have a bit of TC idle time.
Yeah, and I really love HighFlyer just sending for these spears. It's always worth it. If you know you can be aggressive, you don't need the spears at your base. Just having the spears there to kind of trade away HP with the opponent's spears and just making sure you can get some good scout fights is really nice to see in these kind of wars.
But OLADUSHEK actually getting a little more value with that militia than I think we anticipated, getting a spear kill there as well. It was for that reason all along, Salted, I imagine.
Yeah, this is another 200 IQ strat from OLAD here. He just planned this from the start. He knew the militia would get late game value. Or mid game, start game, I don't know.
I don't even know what time. We do see OLADUSHEK on gold here. Do you think he's saving for Bloodlines? It does seem a little bit early to be going on to gold, for any other reason, I'd say.
3 on gold for Bloodline seems a bit eager as well. I'm not entirely sure.
HighFlyer's setting 5 to gold, so I think he actually wants to play as for Castle Age. I don't really like that though, because I don't feel like yes, Indians do get slightly better camels than your average, especially in the late game. But Castle Age Indian camels, in my opinion, just are very slightly better than. There's nothing that special about them.
Especially given this matchup, like there's in a 1v1, Indian camels are just slightly underwhelming in general, in my opinion, because they get a bonus damage against buildings, which is nice against the wall opponent every now and then. But the piece armor doesn't really play a role here, because the lift play is either committing to Cav or adding his infantry, right? But I don't think we will see anything like archers or CA coming out for OLAD here.
And like, yes, Lithuanians can go CA, but why would you go CA against Indians here? Like, it would make no sense.
Exactly. So yeah, given the matchup, I feel like playing all out in Feudal Age would have been way better. Imagine if we just went Scouts plus Archers here.
As we say it, Bloodline's coming in for HighFlyer.
Nice.
I very much prefer this line of play from HighFlyer. And fighting downhill on these spears as well, or well, was attempting to, but it's the things.
But there's 7 speedy spears out for OLAD here. But OLAD's map is so open and exposed. I feel like HighFlyer should just consider adding archers behind it. It's like quite a bit earlier already. Instead of seeding many farms and trying to make his way towards castle at a reasonable time, just go all in Feudal Age here.
A lot of those 3 on gold, but not really. He doesn't need these on gold right now. If he was going for bloodlines, and he doesn't really need it at the moment for going to castle, because he's not really anywhere that close to castle, honestly.
Yeah, I think what his initial idea was perhaps from there on he wants to try and get up to Castle Age, but he's forced to invest so much more food in spears that it just doesn't really work according to his build, and he's just not accounting for that currently.
And HighFlyer actually can come to the Castle Age first. Would you like, maybe this, I'm not sure this is what he's gonna do, but I feel like it could actually be winning here. Making OLADUSHEK commit so much into spears and then going for your CA switch or something like that.
Yeah, to see Indian CA here, definitely.
I think that'd be the best line of play that HighFlyer could do. And yes, he's dropping an archery range.
But this is in general why I feel like if I was in HighFlyer's position, I would have added an archer range way earlier, because I feel like feudal archers would already get value against the spears here. If you keep your scouts alive, have the bloodlines out, you just get an insane feudal army, and the map of OLAD is still so open. He's trying to wall up and is finally starting to wall down the south, but it's still really hard for him to defend everything.
I also don't like that HighFlyer got bloodlines before clicking up if the plan was to go CA there here.
Not sure if bloodlines got a value on the scouts here rather than going up earlier, yeah.
And blacksmith being denied a little bit from OLADUSHEK, just not like a huge amount, but it's every little bit counts at this stage. And HighFlyer will
actually gonna delay his castle.
HighFlyer will be in Castle Age almost before OLADUSHEK's even clicked up, so very nice for HighFlyer. We'll give a bit of time to build the CA, and he's going for 3 range CA, in which case I'd like to see him abandon some of these farms.
I really like the decision to go 3 range CA. I think it's amazing here, but like you said, yeah, you definitely don't need that many on farms, and he's doing it right now, so great.
Perfect. Did you see him making a camel first off? And I actually don't mind making a camel first off. It can always kind of make your opponent commit more into spears here. It could be a bit like what OLAD did with these scouts on islands. Yeah, okay, well, my opponent's going for camels here. And then the CA pop out, and all of a sudden you've got like 50, or not 50, but 15 CA maybe, and they're killing everything.
So, the thing is, like, if you make this single camel, your opponent probably, I mean, you would check upgrades, right? That is something you should do. And if I see unupgraded camel, like no defense, when your opponent is Castle Age, then I would kind of anticipate something else than Cav.
And never mind, HighFlyer sitting the CA forward straight away. I would kind of like to see him not build up too many numbers, but maybe build like a couple more than just one before sending them forward.
Would be great, because there was no intel from OLAD here. He was actually getting +1 defense, +1 offense for the infantry, but now he knows like, oh shit, I need to deal with CA. So now he has a bit of extra time to come up with a solution before CA is all over his base.
Something interesting that I've once used myself and seen other people use, don't judge me too much, is going light cavalry to deal with CA. Instead of going for knights, because then they can actually chase them down.
Interesting, yeah. I'm personally a big fan of scorpions against CA.
That's true.
They do pretty well, but on a really open map like this, that's pretty rough.
We do see a monastery coming down for OLADUSHEK first, so I don't like this. I'd rather this be a siege workshop. Even if Scorpion is being so open, the Scorpion's having to travel a little while. I still feel like the monastery's not going to get any value here. Like the CA just going to snipe him. Oh, but the Pike's getting a nice engagement, taking out one of the CA here.
I mean, this is where the Pike speed boost. Obviously, it doesn't make Pike a counter to CA, but it becomes a bit scarier for the CA, right? And regarding the monastery, maybe it's some sort of freaking lift player OCD that they just have to go for the relics in time, even if they don't go knights.
We see 4 queued up. This is not an OCD. This is
okay.
a,
Okay.
This
I
is
mean, how many
commitment.
relics are there on the map, Shadow?
We see Sanctity coming in as well, though. So maybe Sanctity monks are, I'm not gonna say a counter to CA, but a better option versus CA than Pikes. I don't know, I'm a little bit confused here. We do see a bit of a pause at the moment though.
A big fan. I like the Scorpions over the Monastery in that case, and lift skirms would also be interesting. And then if you have skirms, then later on add some monks to deal with any camels, or, well, I guess not light cav. It's interesting.
Thing is, he's got so many Pikes already, so I don't think he needs to worry about Camel too much here. It's just dealing with the CA at this current time. And I would maybe just go for some knights or some skirmishes.
He's actually committing to double monastery now as well, and yeah, I believe you now. It's not for the relics.
If this actually works, though, because Lithuanian monasteries do produce faster. If it does work and he ends up converting half of HighFlyer's army, thanks to the extra HP. I'm sorry, I have never seen anything like this. And it could be 400 IQ for all we know.
For all we know. I mean, Liv get decent monks, but I'm not sure how the monks will get value here. Yeah, so Garrett is giving an interesting point where the Liv helps will have extra armor against the CA eventually, but we're just not at we're so far from that stage. I mean, there's no stone. There's very little eco for OLAD, and in the meantime, HighFlyer is on the second TC. It's starting to build up that vill lead. It's currently only sitting at 4 villages, but it will definitely add up over time, especially if we can get some raids in with the CA.
Yes, Hammer Time is pointing something important out here. There's not extra as they missed the last blacksmith upgrade.
But it's still, wait, so they missed out on 2 piece armor from the blacksmith upgrade, but they, I always thought Tower Shoot was 3 piece armor, my bad there.
They actually used to only be 1. Getting 1 CA conversion though. But HighFlyer is just, I feel like HighFlyer's got this game, honestly. We do see Siege Shop now being dropped by OLADUSHEK. But the thing is, HighFlyer just needs to keep raiding all over OLADUSHEK space. There's no other TCs to hide in. And there's monks, which are slower than even Scorpions, I'm pretty sure. And
yeah, I just have to agree with you. HighFlyer is definitely in a really winning position here. The CA are gonna have such a free time running around the map here. You can just see how much damage they're able to get in, and even snipe army along the way.
That being said, the Pikes, these were, maybe other than Celts, if there were any other Civs Pikes, we would not be seeing them even getting close to engaging. Monks trying to get some value. And actually getting a bit of value there, honestly. Like, maybe it's not the monks alone. It's the I'm getting the camel as well. Maybe it's the monks with the pikes in front that's the play here.
I mean, monks are a nice defensive unit because you always threaten your opponent when they try and move in. But I'm still not a big fan of the monks, to be honest.
Especially because they're 100 gold each. They're not like a cheap unit here. And the thing is, you aren't guaranteed to get that value.
There's a very big chance that whenever you go for a conversion, the CA can just run in and snipe off the monk.
Oh, I was barely saving that monk there.
Saved.
But HighFlyer's just kind of able to pick off villages here and there. Is he booming behind us? I think I did see at least 1 extra TC. He is on 2 TC.
2 TC. Yeah, and so Olad added his second CC quite a bit later. In a nice spot, it has a wood line and extra gold there, but you can see the CA are a serious issue for him, and the monks are just not cutting it.
The Scorpions will help a little bit here, especially with the pikes here as well. And that
if
one
he can
camel.
find a few key positions for his Scorpions, he can be in an okay spot, but then we have to think about how this matchup is gonna be in the late game. And I feel like Liv might be able to do pretty decent against Indians in the late game, but...
No husbandry. I don't think so. The CA do look a bit slow. I didn't see if it did come in, unfortunately.
He does have husbandry.
He does? Wow, okay.
Yeah.
He's gonna snipe one monk here. Hey, we'll be honest, these monks are being microed well, and there's actually too many of them at the moment for a small group of CA to take out.
So this is always so scary when you're playing against monks, right? Because you kind of want to go in for the snipe, but as you go in for the snipe, suddenly there's another monk behind it, and another one, and you're just not sure whether you can make it or not.
Oh, and OLADUSHEK sending them forward. How many conversions is he gonna get? He's gonna get one. He gets
nice
3
micro.
almost instantly. Like, bloody hell. Like, that's
4
value.
conversions.
One of them
he did lose 3 monks for it.
I think that's worth it though, honestly. Like,
it's worth it. It's cost effective.
And if you're in HighFlyer situation, I don't know if you do you add siege here, like, because the thing is, Lithuanian's gonna go redemption. He is adding siege actually.
It's kind of a hard scenario to play out as Indians from Hero, to be honest. Like, you can't really switch into light cap because there's too many pikes out. The CA will do for now, and mousing CA could be a scary threat, but there's just Scorpions out, which is going to be a bit harder to deal with. I think the way you want to play this as Indians is just continue mousing CA and get it towards Imp and find an answer towards for the Scorpions in that age. Hammer time, the Vil counts are 84 for HighFlyer currently and 59 for OLAD.
So definitely, I don't think HighFlyer's in a bad spot just yet, or like a terrible spot, with their pretty heavy Vil difference here, and actually having less military though right now.
On the left of OLAD's base, HighFlyer is using big numbers of CA here. That's always the risky thing with CA, and also why I love Scorpions against CA here.
I think Indians get fully upgraded champions though, right?
I will have to double check that.
That could actually be an interesting...
They lacked the last defense upgrade.
Ah, that's right. But would you possibly look at doing a champion switch here to deal with the unit comp that OLADUSHEK is currently sending at you?
Some monks are pretty decent against champs as well.
But obviously less so than going knights here or camels as Indians.
But currently, the thing is, I know HighFlyer is not having the most cost-efficient fight, but if I'm looking at this, the pike numbers are becoming very, very low here. So if he does prep something like a light cap switch at this point, it's very risky for OLAD.
Especially against, the thing is, it's mostly as you're saying, there's not many pikes in the field, there's mostly monks and Scorpions here, and even he's adding a ram or two for some reason. And I think if you go full light cav here, like I'm talking 3 stable light cavalry here, keep some CA alive if you can. I think that can actually be a winning position for HighFlyer.
Definitely, as Hammer Time is pointing out, he's also floating 1.6k food.
Yes, that's true. We do see him selling a lot of food, actually taking light cav now. But I wouldn't have sold the food if he's going for light cav here. And he's going for a castle, but there's 2 Scorpions situated here. And I don't like that his army isn't with it.
Yeah, I don't like this castle play. Like, I like the placement, but the whole idea just doesn't make sense. Like, how is this castle going to go up? This is a really nice way to make sure you lose a bit of your build.
And he's going to try and Vil rush the Scorpions.
Yeah, I mean, do you see a counter to Vils running between the military of OLAD here?
I'm a little confused as to what HighFlyer is doing here. Wait, Wait, where's that castle being placed? Because I did see the stone drop from HighFlyer.
Oh, and there's a really salted castle going down there with a single field. Random siege workshop in the north as well. I kind of don't like how HighFlyer is playing this. He's building up such an eco lead over time, but he's taking inefficient fights, not really waiting for the right timing, and just not really getting enough light cap out currently.
I feel like the I don't know. I'm just a little bit confused as to what the plan is here from HighFlyer, or what it kind of devolved into. I'm going to say actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit old, and I do have to say, like, the longer this game goes on, the harder it's going to be for Ola to actually get value out of his monks, because there's going to be so much macro play in a bit that he just can't focus on a monk macro anymore.
Getting 2 scorpions with 1 mangonel shot, getting it a 3rd now. Actually, a decent trade there for HighFlyer, and he's finally going to clean up that ram. But this castle's going to be a doubty, I think. How many vills are here? There's 2 vills that they're about to die.
Yeah, she goes down as well. That is a nice doubt at 85%.
I feel like the castle's almost unnecessary as well. Like, I don't think you need a castle in this position right now.
I feel like there's many better positions where it covers more woodlines and more golden stone. But I just want to point out real quick, HighFlyer has 3 stables in the back of Ola's base.
Literally just what I was looking at as well.
Oh boy. Oh, I'm not sure if I like it showing it with 1 light cap. Maybe build up a bit more before he starts raiding here. But that could get quite a bit of value.
And he deletes the castle. So 85% doubt is dropping another castle somewhere. Let's see if he just drops it somewhere more defensive. Okay. See, this is a castle I much prefer, not because it's in the best position in the world, but because it's not going to be a doubty, at least not easily.
Because this castle will go up. That's perfect.
All we need.
Personally, I would have locked it more towards the north, so to kind of save the extra boot lines and the eco up there. Because your starting base is really awkward. There's not a lot of rest there. Sure, you have quite a bit of farmers standing there, but there's way more wood lines and stuff to conquer on this map.
Absolutely. Like we said, I don't think HighFlyer is in a terrible position still. We do see OLADUSHEK idling to go to Imp. And this is kind of, if HighFlyer is going to go for a kind of all-in play here, this is the time. But these TCs have Bodkin arrow on them. They're actually going to be damaging, especially against light cavalry. At one stage had no +2 defense, they were going to go down pretty easily. And now with the +2 defense, they're still kind of going to die to the town center fire.
So, I don't think that HighFlyer is necessarily in a bad spot. He has a really solid eco, but he was in such a good spot earlier this game, and it seems like he doesn't really have a plan currently. He's kind of all over the map, but not really achieving anything. He's dropping a really forward town center in a bit, and he just hasn't noticed there's a gold in the absolute right of his base, but it's just out of line of sight as well.
Oh, he doesn't see it. I thought he'd already seen it. Oh, that could be huge.
Also, what I want to say earlier this game, like, the freaking south of the map is like Black Forest. There's like 2 small entries, but there's like 3 golds in that area, the stone, and so much rest and so much wood to take. That area would be really nice to hold for either player.
That being said, I actually think this might be HighFlyer's game right now. Even ignoring the not so cost efficient trades, he's got CA raiding the wood line, the light cap kind of debating the pikes and getting some bill picks along the way. And OLADUSHEK's on Scorpions, and Scorpions aren't the best unit in the game, and especially not the Lithuanian Scorpions. I don't think they get heavy Scorpion from memory. I might just quickly double check that as I say that. No heavy Scorpion, no Siege Onager.
Yeah. Hammer Time is asking whether Olet has hill forts, but unfortunately he doesn't have it yet. It will be fun to see though.
It would be one of those few times that I think hill forts actually could be a decent tech actually, but look at the bill counts for OLADUSHEK. It's now 127 in favor of 127, sorry, to 74 in favor of HighFlyer.
Yeah, like Olad has been taking really cost-efficient trades and really using his army nicely and getting so much value from monks, but his eco behind it has always been just very low compared to HighFlyer's eco.
And he's not really on an army comp he wants to be on as almost any Civ, let alone Lithuanians.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that's putting it mildly, honestly. We do see one of those sneak stables going down for HighFlyer at the moment. But he'll be able to get Hussar here. And Hussar plus CA in this situation, I think, is just death.
I definitely think that just going Massive Silence here is great for HighFlyer. I feel like HighFlyer is in a position that if he just spends his rest a bit more, he should be able to take heaps of map control. The only thing he's struggling with right now is gold, and he does have the TC on the left, but that is the only gold that he kind of knows of. Yeah, like he is a stone in like the southeast, and he doesn't see the gold next to it either. He's just missing all the golds in his territory.
It does kind of... Oh, GG is called. I think that's... I do kind of respect that. Although I don't think... I think it was, from our perspective, I do think that we could say it was probably over. Just based on the villager numbers... Oh, a drop. Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's disconnect. Yeah, I was really surprised because he just had cleared his army in the middle, and he's like 3 army in the middle, and I'm like, yeah, sure, he had some painful raids in his base, but that doesn't make any sense.
Let me just check if they want to continue playing it, or if they do want to call it, because they usually would restore it, but they might end up. Okay, they are gonna restore by the looks of things.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's fair in this stage, because I feel like OLAD might be in a pickle position. There still is some winning condition to him.
Absolutely.
And gold. I just hope HighFlyer didn't get to take a look at the map, because there's so many golds he would have found out.
He did have a vision of that gold in the back, though. I don't know if a villager pathed over it, but he will eventually be able to notice it if he looked over that direction.
Okay, interesting. Maybe the farm field actually found it after a bit.
I think that must have been the way. So I don't think that even if he did find it now, it wouldn't be just because he would have had a chance to look.
Oh yeah, no, I completely trust that as well. I'll be 1 second, sorry.
That's all good. I need to send you the game ID anyway. Good to see DE not really wanting to show me the game. Range. There's no reason for the game currently not to show.
Alright, I'm back.
No worries. I did send you the game ID, but it's not working for me.
Ooh, jolly.
Just DE things.
Just DE thing. Isn't it more often the case that DE has issues with spectating restored games?
I actually have never tried spectating a restored game. If it's in ongoing matches. Lobbies?
I can't find it in ongoing matches yet.
We find it in lobbies though. That's really strange if it is, if that has happened.
Ghost game.
This is like the ultimate debate.
I mean, it's still anyone's game in a sense, because there's definitely military.
Oh, I got it. No, it came up for a second and it left again.
Oh no, that's the worst.
Why does it do this?
Oh, just hit. Oh wait, it came up for a second for me as well. Damn it.
I really want to see the end of this game. We can't be left hanging like this. Oh, please fix this damn game. And if not, I wonder what the best thing to do will be. Because we'll probably know what happens if we go and get the record of the record. You could maybe ask someone from chat to get it, but then there'll be a game for either happening or not happening.
I just got in, I think. Yeah, I got in.
Damn it! Why not me?
I reset the filters and hit the buttons, tick some boxes at the top, and you should be able to get in. I just look for HighFlyers. Ah, great.
Download save data, sure. Okay, so that's probably why it's harder to get in. I did what you said there, just started spamming some buttons.
DE works in mysterious ways, Shadow. Don't even question it. Yeah,
so,
I just love how you would have these odd key combinations for cheats and whatnot with some games, and DE just has that just to spectate games.
So now OLADUSHEK obviously picking Britain's here now, and this is just a restore bug if you guys have not seen it before. I'm sure you guys have though.
I mean, you can't expect people to be familiar with all the bugs in DE though.
That's so true.
I wonder whether OLAD just picked Lithuanians pure for that elite rush opening, or whether there was any like second reason to do it, except maybe that's a decent
must have been the Lithu rush. I don't think there's any other, like, based on the way he played. Alright, so I'm gonna catch up to the live gameplay. Okay, it's caught up.
Yeah, right with you.
Let's just double check.
We see.
So yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Everything, I think it was basically at the same point as it was before.
Yeah, basically.
Because sometimes the restore is a little bit further behind.
Yeah, you can miss a bit with spec delay sometimes when that happens.
HighFlyer,
we didn't miss too much.
I was just gonna say, HighFlyer is actually taking the stone to the left, and is getting a castle on this gold, so you will be able to protect this gold really easily. They really just limit OLADUSHEK's options into the late game.
Yeah, like OLAD only has control of actually 2 golds. There's one on the complete left in his base as well, but after that, which he didn't scout by the way. This is just every single time in this game, people find gold except like 1 tile away from it.
He does see this stone though, so he might go towards the stone at some point and then decide to
hit the jackpot.
Yeah. Did you see 2 traps on this castle from OLADUSHEK onto HighFlyer? But a HighFlyer doing the right move here, repairing it here. I'd like to see him adding maybe some BBC, honestly. He'll be able to deal with a lot of what OLADUSHEK is currently sending with some BBC.
It's pretty interesting because HighFlyer is doing a really heavy switch into skirmishes here. As he's doing full range, he's getting party tactics, also still making some CA. Skirms nice versus the Harps, but there's a bit too much siege to really use the Skirms very efficiently, I feel. And then bombard cannons would be a great addition, like you suggested.
But maybe if he goes, I think, full trash and siege, we do see Capdram also coming in. He is floating quite a bit of wood right now, and I'd like to see that fixed. But I think full trash and siege, I think that's the switch we're seeing. I actually agree with this. Full trash will be able to deal with the trash units that OLADUSHEK is sending, and the siege will be able to deal with the siege that OLADUSHEK is sending. HighFlyer's Bill rushing it. I think that was a misclick. The Trev.
The one build that could.
I don't like that. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I don't like that OLADUSHEK's actually splitting his traps here.
I'm slightly indifferent about it, to be honest.
I mean, it seems to be working, but I'd rather kill, or make sure I kill one of the castles and then be able to kill the other castle.
I feel like the time it takes for him to set up the traps and go towards the other castle basically negates the efficiency of then again having to send the traps to the other castles.
That's true. And also something I didn't really take into account until just now, but these skirmishers actually outrange these scorpions at the moment. And they will outrange any Mangonels as well, so it's actually not as awkward of a position to go for this skirmishes here.
And by the way, the stables in the back of Ola's base are still just delivering him a huge pickle. He doesn't have help, or he doesn't have enough halberdiers in his eco to keep it safe, and his veil count is so low.
GG's called.
That is actually when the GG gets called as well, yeah. So the Rage just did too much damage in the end, and although he had a solid military lead, HighFlyer just had so much more eco, even slightly too much, you could argue.
140 veils at one point. Not sure what it ended up being though.
151.
Oh bloody hell! What a boomer. But we are
but
going
I can imagine.
Oh sorry, we were just to say we're going to game 4, which I'm really happy to see. I'll give you the game code. What were you saying, man?
Well, I can completely see why OLAD opted for the resign here, as the single elephant archer was coming out for HighFlyer. There's just no fighting that.
Do you think there was a way of coming back once those raids had done damage, though?
Sorry, once what happened?
Once the raid started happening in the back of OLADUSHEK space, do you think there was a way of coming back at that point?
So it was slightly close in my opinion, because HighFlyer was doing a tiny throw at the same time, but he was relying on HighFlyer making multiple mistakes in a series to actually come back into that game. So I would argue no.
We do have game 4 being on Golden Swamp, Vikings versus Celts. I'm actually really excited to see this. I believe OLADUSHEK actually has a prepared strat for this one, using the Celt Drush here.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if you think about NAC and Cup being a map there, which was kind of similar idea to Golden Swamp, right? We would very often see Celts indeed opening with the Drush, and Vikings is an interesting pick here, but slightly more off meta. But overall, still a really solid civ, right?
Something I have seen with Vikings is once you get even a few longboats in the middle, it's really, really hard to take back control of the middle. Like, you don't need like a huge mass of them to deny the middle. I'm not sure if that's the plan. Going through HighFlyer's head, and I almost prefer Koreans for that, because turtle ships in smaller numbers are scarier.
And they're like immune to conversions, if you've seen that game of Hera against Yo.
So funny. I don't often find myself like laughing like out loud too much when I'm at home, but I was sitting here wetting myself, not gonna lie.
So what civ would you personally favor here?
I think there's only one thing I like for the Celts here, and that's to go for that kind of drush into FC, probably Huang push. I don't think there's any real value beyond that, because even though they do have a good word bonus, their ships aren't that great, honestly. And I mean, the water control is not the be all and end all, but towards the late game, that's where it gets kind of important, right? Because if you don't have water control and you haven't already secured the middle by that point, your opponent's going to have all that gold in the middle and you're not going to get back to it.
I just find it kind of interesting, because to me, Celts always has been the pick for things like Golden Swamp and Cup, where you kind of say like, hey, I know there's kind of a meta on this map, but I don't want to play that meta, so we're going to play this my way. But given that that's on your own home map, that just feels a bit off.
Yes, PT, absolutely. That's what Solid is saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying here.
But yeah, would you agree with that kind of sentiment that unless the Drush finds value here, that HighFlyer should, in theory, be in a good position?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, you can still kind of hang it up as Celts here, and Vikings does not have the easiest time defending against that, but I don't feel like that's the way you want to play this game if you're OLAD.
But both maps here are actually really nice in my opinion. Like, all of their stones and golds have spawned to the side or back of their base. And as is pretty customary for Golden Swamp, both players' front is pretty open.
So the front is definitely open, but HighFlyer has the most beautiful base in Golden Swamp of all, to be honest. Like 2 golds split on different sides, there's 2 stones in the back, really easy time walling towards the TC or anything. and still having like a solid amount of map behind it. Whereas Olad is a bit more open towards the north of his base, but still should be fine, really.
Would you like to see... So what I've seen as well is that on Golden Swamp, it's happened a couple of times. The player doing the drush, it's either been Persian drush or Celt drush. They've actually sent a villager forward to wall in the dock as well.
So if you're smart on Golden Swamp, and you're up against a Civ that likes to rush, you always dock where your dog will be touching some water instead of just mangrove shallows. And as you can see, HighFlyer, well, I guess he can wall one tail towards the water and be fine if he wants to do that. Or he could even wall on the middle island, which will dock on the middle island, which is a bit weird, but it is closer to the fish. And it makes sure that the Dresh can't really harass the fish. So it's a consideration, honestly.
OLAD could do it. Oh, and HighFlyer finding the Boulder Buffalo, and he's gonna steal. I couldn't think what they were called for a second, and he might even go for a lame. He sees the Rhino. HighFlyer likes a good lame. Is he gonna go for it? I think he's gonna go for it.
I think he's definitely prepping, making sure he doesn't lose a field to a boar this time.
Something else that could be really interesting as well is even if he doesn't go for the Rhino, if he denies it as well, we do see a villager coming a little forward for OLADUSHEK here.
Oh.
Yep, and this is...
He does. Ooh, yeah, I like not going for the village. It's really greedy if you don't know where the TC is exactly.
And Loom coming in for OLADUSHEK, definitely realizing that he will, if he wants this Rhino, he's gonna have to fight for it a little bit. Where
is that Vil going for?
Barracks.
Oh, it's dropping a barrack in a middle island. That is interesting.
That's very ballsy, actually. So, and this is the thing, like HighFlyer, and now he will have to pass back because of the villager here.
So I dislike this slightly because he's just kind of trading away scout HP against Vil HP, and now Olad has the scout with more HP, which can be abused.
So I almost think in this situation it would have been better to see HighFlyer actually taking the lane there. I do see what he was doing. He was trying to deny the villager, but all he had to do was get Loom and he was fine.
I mean, it only delays it really, because Olad can always just send his own scout, send out a Vil, get his own scout back, and he's guaranteed to get his boar, and HighFlyer loses his scout HP trade.
We do see the first fish coming out for HighFlyer right now. And with those extra 2 buffalo, he will be in a better position if he can make usage of them. But the drush coming out for OLADUSHEK, and they will start denying the fish from being very effective.
But look at how HighFlyer plays his dock. This is really well done, I believe. Oh, actually, there's still a tower of land behind it. That's kind of what I feared. If he would have walled that, that would have been nice. And wow, there's a dock coming out for Olad as well. And a barrack for HighFlyer.
Are we gonna see a HighFlyer respond with a drush, or do you reckon he'll go into man-at-arms here?
I honestly am unsure what he's thinking. I feel like it's really late to get your own drush out, and I would always prioritize just going to Foodle.
Especially with Viking men-at-arms, that's when they get the bonus HP, so...
Yeah, but even like just following up with straight archers or a fire galley that would just absolutely roast these militia.
Tasty salted. Salted militia.
Oh boy.
I actually think what we are seeing here, instead of... maybe I'm completely crazy here, but we might be seeing an extended drush, because we did see 4 going onto gold, now 2 on gold. I'm not sure if I like this from HighFlyer, if he is going to go for the extended drush here, but he does have all the extra food.
It's really... I'm not really sure what HighFlyer is doing here. I don't mean it in an insulting way, but it just doesn't make any sense to me, because he's out of fields garrison and his TC, like he tried to drop off food, but he's queuing 5 fields and 2 militia, and he's on gold already. I feel like he just can't really make up his mind what he wants to do.
I think he maybe didn't realize that his villagers were still queued or something. I mean, look, yeah, I don't have a clue either.
This is a lot of idle time on the Vils inside HighFlyer's TC, by the way. Bit of a disaster piece. Like, him being housed might be a good thing right now, because he might realize that his, oh boy, Vils are idle. So OLAD looking to wall in the dock, it appears, and now HighFlyer is drushing the fish of OLAD as well, which is kind of the last thing you anticipated this match, right?
Yeah. But the drush from HighFlyer not getting any value. I do wonder if there's some kind of lag spike or something. Like I might have to ask HighFlyer if something like that happened to, because I have no idea why there were 13 villagers sitting in that TC for. It was almost a minute, right?
Yeah, now again, like there's 6 vills being idle. Now looking into the statistics real quick and see the difference in eco. Yeah, OLAD has like 500, 600 rest collected more just because of that idle time and everything happening, and the fish value, I guess.
And he also has 4 extra villagers. I believe these are just fishing boats at the moment. OLADUSHEK clicking up to the feud ledge first, though.
I mean, he will be clearing out the fish, so there's going to be some value. He might be able to get that villager that's running back if he uses his scout effectively. I really hope to see OLAD just block the scout with the fishing ship there, but he didn't make it happen.
It would be a bit of a masterpiece, wouldn't it? But now, HighFlyer might lose his scout if he's not watching.
This is next level militia warfare, because it's not only taking place in one spot, there's just militia all over the place. Can he snipe it?
No!
Oh no!
That's a bit rough, isn't it?
That is rough, buddy.
Maybe the drush just threw HighFlyer off, I'm not sure. And he's adding more militia. He's actually... Okay, no, he's decided to cool it with the militia.
He's 3 vills in queue, 300 foot in the bank. He's almost able to click up if he does stop queuing these vills, but it's a small disaster piece because he just isn't up to fuel yet, and our buddy OLAD almost is. And if you get something like a galley out or a fire galley, you have such an easy time controlling the water against the militia, and then he can start adding fish, have a better eco. He has 2 docks out, so he should have an easy time doing that.
We do see OLADUSHEK actually adding quite a bit of fish at the moment. Oh, he did have a couple of fish in the queue, so maybe it was... He's going for a couple of fires here, and I feel like this is a good position for OLADUSHEK now. Especially because Vikings don't get fire galleys, so he'll be waiting. I'm guessing what's happening here. HighFlyer was trying to convert this into a drush FC. Things went a little bit pear-shaped. And then he's now gonna... I think he still has to try and drush FC this and try and get water control with... I'm guessing longboats. It's really awkward though, isn't it?
So far from FC, and he keeps adding militia. Like, he queued another 2 earlier, and yeah, I just don't see how these militia are going to get the value he wants. To be fair, like, all that space is still completely open, so if it does transition into man-at-arms, he can get value, but there's no place for him on water anymore. Like, he can't contest water with any sort of land or water unit from this point on.
I think a second dock though, which I'm a little bit confused by. Like, he can't really get the numbers of guys up that he's going to need, in my opinion, with being so late up to the fuel age. Is HighFlyer logging counts?
I mean, maybe. Oh, we see 4 forward fields from OLAD here as well. What is happening? But the fields might be spotted by HighFlyer's fields who are on the hunt. He sees the house being dropped and he finds it, and the spear's like, here's an alarm bell to make sure you actually see these vills here. Wow.
A range coming down for HighFlyer.
I really like the range, and he will be going up towards castle soon, but he's also clicking man-at-arms, but all his freaking militia have been turned into deep-fried man-at-arms now. he lost most of them. I dislike man-at-arms here, and he also clicks DBA now instead of clicking up. I guess he lacks the wood for the second building. That must be his motivation.
And I think I actually prefer that. Now that we realize he didn't have the wood for it, I kind of like that. Tower coming down for OLADUSHEK though, so this is going to be an all-in feudal by looks of things.
One piece of stone wall in the south for HighFlyer there, which is slightly questionable if he doesn't plan to be going on stone. But I guess with everything that's happening in this game, there isn't going to be a place for TCs anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. I feel like if you're in HighFlyer's position, you're going to be dropping Siege Workshop before you drop a TC.
But the question is, like, in HighFlyer's position, what do you do from here on? Because water control is clearly OLAD's right now. If you get on longboats, maybe you can get some good trades against the fire galleys, but it's going to be rough to get back on there. And in the meantime, you can't invest too much in longboats because there's some land pressure coming in as well.
He's getting a demo!
Ooh, I like that.
Still not able to click up just yet though, so...
Yeah, he's just now dropping the blacksmith because he realized, yeah. didn't have that building.
He will be up though, and then I feel like with a bit of siege defense, I feel like he could be fine here.
And Olad is still so far from clicking up. He's even investing in +1 archer defense, so he really needs to deal some damage here to get some value in. Second range coming up for HighFlyer, so I guess he will be going Expo and going for more of a land play rather than trying anything with longboats.
HighFlyer to go for a skirmisher first here. Not sure why he's going skirms first. I guess there is archers on the field for OLADUSHEK though, which might be why he's going for those first.
Could be. Given how much gold he has in the bank, I'm not sure how much I like that.
They do have full feudal age upgrades, and HighFlyer doesn't even have the first one yet, so I do kind of understand it. We do have more demos in the queue though, HighFlyer. I feel like if he's going for full land here, I feel like the demos are almost a bit of a waste at the moment.
Maybe, yeah.
But that being said, I feel like yes, OLADUSHEK's gonna get a range here, and he has forced the FC to, well, I'm not even gonna call it a fast castle, the medium-paced castle here to be slowed down a little bit. But I don't feel like this is a good position for OLADUSHEK to be in if HighFlyer can get to a significant number of archers, but he's not been queuing them on the way up to the castle age, which I don't like here.
It's a bit weird overall, but to be honest, it's a really strange game overall in my opinion.
And he's just repairing his house, so he's getting away with it because the units haven't been patrolled onto here. These are coming down, I like this.
Finally clicking up.
HighFlyer is trying to get some longboats out here. He's actually repairing his dock so he can get these longboats out.
Two longboaty boys against the world.
What? Is he gonna get away with this? Nope, the longboats just gonna get sniped. They don't have the HP here. I don't like the longboats here.
Once the fire gun is given range, that deals some serious damage.
Like, I also think that in this situation, he's going for Viking CA. What? What? I don't have any words, Salted. Any reason that you'd be going Viking CA over going archers here?
Like, style points even isn't the reason. I just don't know. Like, I mean, no bloodlines, no husbandry. No, doesn't make any sense, sorry.
I don't have any words right now. I'm just so confused. Maybe he wants to try and use mobility.
Even if you can use the mobility to get in Olad's base, like that's the reason why he probably did it, right? Just get in Olad's base maybe, but then like the CA just still gets traded away with the feudal archers because they're just so bad at this stage as Vikings.
And HighFlyer with 2 on food currently. And he's building a stable.
Yeah, but I think I would prefer. I think I would still just prefer archers with Botkin rather than the CA there, to be honest. Not sure.
Okay, maybe actually I kind of like what PD's saying here. And it actually could be because the CA don't need upgrades. Whereas you do need crossbow at least for crossbow in this situation. And HighFlyer's eco is quite stretched.
I mean, 4 farms is more than just quite stretched.
I was putting it nicely, Salted.
Yeah, I guess the CA does make more sense than I initially thought. I have to admit that, because I didn't realize that his eco was set up in such a way that he really wouldn't be able to afford the expo upgrade anytime soon. But then, yeah, I guess he wants to be in Olad's base then, and Olad actually is doing a beautiful job of adding fish where he can. It's slightly greedy, but it's really paying off for him.
And we do see OLADUSHEK actually going for Celt Knights here, and it's gonna pay off, honestly. Like, yes, there's a TC in the back for HighFlyer. And yes, these do have Wadkin arrows, so you don't want to be taking too much TC fire here. But it's also the idle time that he's causing, and there's no other gold that HighFlyer's on, so if he even situates a few knights just around his gold, he's going to be denying HighFlyer off of gold. Luckily for HighFlyer, he has got quite a bit of gold in the bank already.
So the HighFlyer also opted to make 3 mangonels, and I feel like that was some sort of an attempt to deal with the navy of OLAD, but I'm not entirely sure.
It did look that way.
And we see the ramp coming out for OLAD in the south. This game is special in a way. Like all kinds of units are coming out all over the place.
And HighFlyer used all of his gold to rebalance his eco here.
Ooh.
Thing is, he's going for a third TC and he has no farms for production.
That spot also just kind of hurts my eyes, to be honest. And also, like you said, like there's 3 farmers right now. This is looking a disaster piece for HighFlyer at this point, to be honest.
Maybe HighFlyer's just having a bit of fun with this now. Like, yeah, this looks over to me. I'm gonna call it here, honestly. It would take a huge throw from OLADUSHEK now to lose this game.
He's adding a 4th TC, but even if he gets some of these TCs running, he just won't be able to get back into this game, in my opinion. He's quite a few builds behind, no military.
If he even gets one of these TCs running, I'll be happy.
I feel like, yeah, Monastery is being dropped. Like, if you were going to play from this point on, although I believe it's a lost position, a Monastery makes most sense here to have some sort of defense against the Knights and then try and boom back into it. But this is looking rough. I
would agree with that actually, Sunset Fire. Based on what we've seen from OLADUSHEK, he does tend to favor strategies that are a little bit surprising to face, and that it did work in game 2 especially. And I think it's working here a little bit as well, honestly.
Really crazy how this game went. Like the really logical opening with like the dog for HighFlyer and the Thresh for OLAD, and then suddenly the reverse where HighFlyer drops the barracks, but OLAD drops the dog. And since then the game has been all over the place, but it's definitely looking like the game is OLAD's from this point on, as the TC will go down soon. The Bills are trying to do a desperate attempt to repair this, but
I feel like HighFlyer would have actually been an okay position if he was going archers on the way up to the castle age, then upgrades him to crossbow. Yes, that does mean that he doesn't win water at that stage, but then you can kind of go in for a land play. You had the siege workshop up as well. The siege with crossbow, I think, was probably a better play than what HighFlyer did, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I would have liked to see just Expo play and making archers on the way up to Castle Age. In general, I'm not sure how I felt about the whole militia being added earlier on. It just felt like a weird line of play to me.
I think if he was going for Drush FC, I think it was fine maybe adding a few militia, but I feel like he added far too many. We see a lot of deleting the knights as well.
He added so many militia, but he never got in the base of OLAD. Sure, OLAD had a few forward fields and there was fish on the water, but still there's very minimal value for all these militias made as well.
Wait, this is a desperation attempting to cling on, hoping OLADUSHEK throws the game, I think, at this stage.
Kinda, and I mean, this is the last shot of HighFlyer to be in this best of 5, right? So that's definitely why he's trying at this point. He he must realize this isn't really a winning position, but he just wants to try, and I respect that.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's the way back in.
I'm not just saying this because I get along with HighFlyer, but he has been playing up until this point relatively well. This set today, not quite as well as some of the other sets, but still relatively well, and I think that there was some... I think especially on Ravines, I think HighFlyer did play that match very well. That game was cool though.
And the final game is called of this best of 5, and what a best of 5 it was. It was really an interesting series of games, and all are just bringing out all the out-of-the-box tactics, in my opinion. Really fascinating to see. And really good performance from both players. And to hand it to HighFlyer here, I do feel like the other series I watched him play, he played a bit stronger than he did in this series.
Yeah.
But I can imagine as a player, it's so hard to play against OLAD because you just don't know what's going on in that 200 IQ brain of his.
Absolutely, and some of those strategies, they were just so kind of left field. Like I've not seen them before. Like for example, on I think it was Ravines going for the Lithuanian Drush. Like I didn't end up working. But I've never seen the Lithuanian Drush be attempted on Ravines. And then
Also, just the whole shenanigans on Team Islands
oh,
happening
that
with
was
the
so
transport
funny.
chip playing off, and